Hey everyone. I was seeing a bunch of people talking about Star Wars stuff, so I was like, you know, okay, time to go over some Star Wars stuff that I have. I have a bunch of DVDs, Blu-rays, and other types of media here, so I'll go over all that stuff. And first, though, I want to talk about when I was little. Actually, I can talk about some of this stuff. Uh, when I was really little, we had all three of the original Star Wars movies on tape. So this is what I grew up with was Star Wars on VHS, and it's really beat up because yeah, I watched it a lot. And last time it was watched, it was never rewound apparently. And oh, and there's the back of it. Yeah, it's this like white with a couple of pictures there. And let's see. And there's Empire again, very beat up. This time it's rewound. Oh, and this one's got like the full image colored back of it. And there's Return of the Jedi, all beat up. Oh, there's some tape on it actually there. And the back is like the first one where it's like white with a couple of pictures instead of Empire where there are pictures. I don't know why Empire is the one odd one out here. I think these were from two different sets or something. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's the case, because these two, the spines kind of look the same, but Empire has a little picture of Yoda down there. I get nostalgia looking at these spines. I remember seeing them up on the shelf. They weren't nearly this beat up when I was a little kid. So anyway... Oh, they're heavy. Okay, anyway. When I was little, I was a big fan of those Star Wars movies, the original Star Wars movies. I grew up, I was born in 1992, so that's what I grew up with initially. The prequel series wasn't out yet. I didn't really know of anything other than those three Star Wars movies. I was a huge fan though. I would watch them all the time. I would watch them over and over again, and I was so fascinated by the effects in those movies. I've always been a big fan of like puppets and animatronics and stop motion. I especially loved Return of the Jedi because it had so many like creatures and suitmation, stop motion, and just so many cool things. And I love these movies so much when I was really little, but I never really comprehended the storyline when I was really little. Like I was under 5 or 6 years old. Let's see, episode one came out. I don't even remember when. 98, I think, maybe, or 97. So I was actually, yeah. So that would be about like 5 or 6 or 7, 7 or 8, maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, when I was really little, and those three original movies were all that existed of Star Wars. I remember on weekends sometimes we'd go to the grocery store. We'd go, yeah, there'd be Walmart nearby or Kmart, and they had sales on toys, and so we'd go over and I'd get like a Star Wars toy every week if I wasn't getting a Power Ranger toy or something. And so that went on for a while, and I had a pretty big collection of the old Kenner Power of the Force Star Wars figures, which most of them I've given away by now. I remember the very first one I got, I think its name was Moma Nodon, or Nadon, the big hammerhead thing that's in the cantina in the first movie. Is there a picture of it, actually? Okay, no picture of it on there. But, yeah, it's the big hammerhead guy. I think Moma Nadon is his name, or her name, whatever. I don't know. It's an alien. Um, don't know what else to say there. Oh yeah, I remember when episode one came out, it was a really big deal, cause like everyone like had thought that Star Wars is over with. No one really expected another movie. Oh, an interesting thing. The first movie, like right now, everyone calls the original Star Wars A New Hope. But actually, on the tape, it doesn't say New Hope anywhere, so at first, when I was like getting into Star Wars fandom and stuff, and people would say A New Hope, I didn't know what they were talking about until I realized, oh yeah, it's like at the top of the tape or something, or I mean at the top of like the crawl thing at the beginning of the movie. Now, even though it wasn't there in the theatrical version, I guess they added it for the tape, but it's nowhere on the box or even the tape itself. I don't know. I still like just calling the first one Star Wars. I never really cared for calling it A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi are fine though. So anyway, oh, and also I have one other. original Star Wars thing that I just got a while ago. Here's The Empire Strikes Back on beta. Yeah, it's a beta tape. Isn't that cool? Still in a VHS size box, but the little sticker, or the beta symbol, it's not a sticker, it's actually printed right on there. So that's cool. Let's see, apparently there were like some supports inside to help hold the beta tape in, but yeah, they're long gone, so it kind of wobbles around in there now. So anyway, here's the little beta tape I have of Empire Strikes Back. There's a front label, which looks like typewriter text saying the Empire Strikes. And then there's like a little video store sticker there, 464. Okay. I don't know if it was rewound or not. Doesn't look like it was all the way. So anyway, that's a cool little thing to have. Oh, and now I know what the back of the like white version of the back cover would look like for Empire Strikes Back. Neat. Except it's on beta, not VHS. I don't have a beta player, but I just thought this was a really cool thing to have. I think beta tapes just look really cool. And I like that they're compact. Makes me wonder why they didn't take off. I guess because you couldn't record onto them or something. Oh, and I have a few other like original Star Wars things I'll go over before I talk about Episode 1. So, let's see. Here's a Blu-ray sets of, oh, they're out of order. So, yeah. Blu-ray sets of the original trilogy with this, custom, like, box art, which I really like. Custom artwork for the discs inside, all, like, they're completely customized, so that's really, really cool. It's way better than most of the official sets you can get. And they just look really nice because I have a lot of nostalgia for, like, that style because it matches the tapes. Also, the backs are... Oh, yeah, and there's that white back for Empire. Just like the beta. Isn't that cool? And, these are... what was it? The despecialized editions. That's what these are called. I really wanted to find a set of these, and I happened to find somebody who was willing to like make DVD copies and also make this really, really cool like custom artwork for the boxes. These are so freaking cool. I would have gotten these like just for the boxes actually, which actually I kind of did because technically the DVDs you can't sell them, so or the Blu-rays you're not allowed to technically sell them because they're like fan-made. You're not allowed to make money off them, so they were a freebie with the case artwork, which is fine. And anyway, I do actually own the like old DVD box set with the original trilogy, which has the original theatrical versions of the movies in garbage quality, along with the crappy special editions in better quality, which is dumb. Why did all the focus go to those? They suck. Before I talk about the special editions, I'll talk about Episode 1, which I have a really cool thing. Here's a Hong Kong VCD set of Episode 1. Opens up, and isn't that cool? Then you get a couple of VCD versions of the movie. So let's see. Disc 1 with Obi-Wan on the cover there, and Disc 2 with Darth Maul on the cover. Let's see, what's on the inside? I forgot. Okay, so it's just a couple of... There's like a montage of characters, scene from the movie, and same thing, and another scene from the movie. I mainly just wanted to get this, mostly for like the box, because I thought the box was really cool looking, but also because I was disappointed with when I got the DVD version of Episode 1, it was different than the tape, which was the theatrical version. The DVD was extended, the pod race was longer, and there was some other... Oh, and I remember. They changed Yoda. Yoda's a puppet in the original version, and in the DVD version, they replace him with CGI. That's stupid. I hated the CGI Yoda. He looks awful. He doesn't fit with the movie. I like the puppet Yoda better. So anyway, I wanted to find this because it has the original version, even if it is split onto 2 discs. Also, there's Chinese subtitles burned on that you can't turn off. There is a version of this without the Chinese burned on subtitles, which I almost got on eBay. Like, I bid on one, I won it, and then it just never came. I contacted the seller, and then I got 1 disc. Where's the other one? I don't know, the seller disappeared. So that sucks. There was another one up, and it went on sale, but I was still waiting on my other one. It'd only been like a week and a half, so I didn't take the offer. That sucks. Oh well. Yeah, anyway. Talking about episode 1, when episode 1 came out, I was in school, and a bunch of my friends were big into Star Wars, and it was really interesting because we only really knew the original movies, and there were some comics and some books and stuff. There was a couple of video games of Star Wars. We knew that kind of stuff, basically. So here's an all-new movie, and it's being touted as it's the beginning of the story. It's a prequel, and we all learned what prequel meant. No one knew what prequel meant before this, apparently. So, anyway, I remember going to see it in theaters. I liked it. A bunch of my friends really, really loved episode 1. And we all liked Jar Jar. We thought Jar Jar was really cool. Yes, really. Everyone in school thought Jar Jar was cool. I was quite shocked to find out when I grew up and was getting more into Star Wars fandom that a lot of people really didn't like Jar Jar. Like, I didn't really like him when I got older, but I kind of figured he had so much merchandise, and he was a major character in the movie, and, like, when I was a kid, I didn't really hear anything negative about him. Then again, I wasn't really looking deep into film criticism or anything, or critics in general, when I was 6 or 7 or whatever. Anyway, there's episode 1, and, oh wait, actually, I have some more original stuff to go over. Or, you know what? I'm gonna save that for the end. I'm just gonna keep going with the prequel movies. So there's the DVD edition of episode 1. I used to have the tape. I had no idea what happened to it. I guess we gave it away or something. No idea what happened to it, but yeah. There's the DVD edition. It's fine. I'm not a fan of, like I said, the altered CGI Yoda. I don't like when they go in and tamper with the movies, which I'll get into later with the special editions. I didn't, like, the pod race scene, it's okay. I don't mind it being extended, but I wish there was a way to just watch the normal cut of the movie. Because I used to watch episode 1 quite a bit, so the original version is, like, burned into my brain, and when I watch the DVD version, it just feels like a completely different movie, because, like, it's going along, everything's the same as I remember, and then all of a sudden something different happens, and I'm like, oh, right, this is... And it just makes me very aware that it's a movie. And it really pulls me out of it. So then episode 2. Episode 2 is interesting because nobody cared about this one when it came out where I lived. Like, all the kids that I knew who were into Star Wars when this came out, some of them were kind of into it, but no one really connected with this movie the way episode 1 did. It was really weird. And I remember episode 2 had, like, a ton of promotion. There was a bunch of, like, prequel comics that came out, tie-in merchandise and comics, and there were video games, and there was the cartoon. Or actually, the cartoon came after this, but it was called Clone Wars. Anyway, yeah. I didn't see this one in theaters. For whatever reason, we didn't see this in theaters. We saw it, like, way later when it came out on tape. It was at the video store, and we rented it. I didn't care for it. Like, I don't know, I was just too weirded out, like, why is Anakin played by a completely different person, but everybody else is the same? Why is Yoda CGI now? And, like, also the movie's just not paced very well. It's a really sloppy movie. It's interesting, because Clone Wars now, like, a lot of really important stuff comes out of that movie, but the movie itself is just kind of a slog to get through. So then there's episode 3, which I did see in the theater. It was okay. I remember when it came out, a lot of people were kind of disappointed with it. They looked at it and they were like, well, it's a perfectly competently made movie. The only big problem with it is it just doesn't really do anything spectacular. It just... I think, what was it, in Toy Fair magazine, they wrote a thing about it, and they wrote that everything that happens in this just makes sense. Everything that happens is the type of stuff that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And that's it. There's not really anything to get excited about. I do like it better in retrospect. I don't know, it's a type of movie that's grown on me and grown on a lot of fans. A lot of fans now consider it to be one of the better Star Wars movies, and I can totally understand why. Uh, but yeah, And episode 1 also, like when I was a kid I really liked it, but then growing up, I remember when I got the DVD, actually it was before I got the DVD, when I was a teenager I got my own VCR, hooked it up in my room, and I was like watching tapes, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch Star Wars. I put in episode 1, and I hadn't watched it in like maybe like 2 or 3 years. Like when I was maybe 11 or 12 was the last time I'd watched it, and even then it was like, I think we had like some relatives up or something, and we were just looking for a long movie to watch. So I watched it, and I was like, I don't like this as much as I did when I was a kid. This really feels like a kid's movie. So, that's about all I have to say about the prequel movies, and I'll talk about, some tie-in stuff, I guess. Here's a custom DVD of the holiday special. 2 discs. Really, high quality, like, nice looking thing. Like, if you were to put this with all the other Star Wars DVDs on the shelf, it fits right in style and design and everything. And there's also a ton of bonus features. That's nice. There's some really cool bonus stuff on there. I don't remember when I first saw I don't think I ever saw it, like, in its entirety until I found, like, a bootleg DVD of it. I remember hearing about it, because, like, I had some Star Wars magazines, I had Toy Fair, and they had, like, a whole parody of it. It was pretty funny. And that kind of gave me some familiarity with the characters that were in the holiday special, so when I did eventually see it, I kind of knew them. Or at least I knew of them. I knew basically who they were and what their role was. Uh, I actually kind of liked the holiday special. Maybe because I knew what it was going in. I wasn't expecting an actual Star Wars movie. I was expecting a TV variety show from 1979, 1980, whenever it was made. I knew that there was going to be a long sequence where Chewbacca's family roars at each other and they don't speak English and there's no subtitles. But I never understood where that criticism was coming from, because, like, I don't know, maybe it was just me being a fan of Suitmation. Like, I could read their body language. You can tell what they're doing and what they're thinking, what they're trying to get across just in their movements and body language. You don't need to have subtitles. You don't need to know what they're saying. I don't know why that was such a big sticking point for people. Of all the things in the movie, it's like one of the least, like, things to be mad about. My problem was more like music segments that would just go on for way, way, way too long. There's that weird Cirque du Soleil thing that Lumpy is watching that just goes on forever. It's kind of neat. It's Cirque du Soleil. It's weird. It kind of fits with Star Wars. Then there's the thing where, was it Itchy? Chewbacca's grandfather is watching the thing on the thing, and that goes on for a time. And then there's that Light the Sky on Fire. Light the Sky on Fire. And then there's a bunch of weird stuff in it. I don't know, maybe I just like goofy, weird stuff. Oh, one of the things I want to talk about, when I was a really little kid, I remember going to the video store. When I was really little, I'd rent, like, Disney movies. And then when I was a little bit older, I would rent Scooby-Doo and Hanna-Barbera stuff. And when I got a little bit older than that, I was looking for, like, fantasy movies and sci-fi movies. And I came across this movie. It said, an Ewok, or yeah, Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure, and then at the bottom it said something like, from the Star Wars universe. And I was like, oh cool, there's another Star Wars movie? And it's all about the Ewoks? I've never heard of this. So I rented it, and I freaking loved it, as a kid. As an adult, I've tried rewatching Caravan of Courage, and I still appreciate it, but yeah, it's definitely a kid's movie. And then, let's see, oh yeah, I think it was when I got this DVD, which is a crappy double-sided DVD, and the wrong movie is listed for one of the sides. that was the first time I saw Battle for Endor, and I was kind of excited because I was like, oh cool, I didn't even know there was a second one, and I watched it and was traumatized because they brutally murder all the main characters from the first movie. Holy crap, what is this, a slasher flick? Only the girl survives. It's ridiculous. How did this happen? Like, oh, happy Ewok adventure. We're going to save these kids' family. Oh, he saved their family. They're all together again. Isn't that awesome? And then a bunch of monsters come and frickin' murder them. And then Wilford Brimley saves the girl, and there's this little Yeti thing with him. They go off in a spaceship. Happy ending. Her family's still freaking dead. Yeah, that kind of stuck with me. That was very weird to me. Was not expecting that. So anyway, there's all the original series stuff, so I guess I'll talk about the special editions now. I had heard of the special editions, I knew what they were, I didn't really have any desire to see them. Like, 'cause I grew up with the old tapes, I always had them, so when the special editions came out on tape, I didn't really have any incentive to get them because I had these tapes, they worked perfectly fine. In fact, they probably still work pretty fine. It wasn't until, let's see, I was at a yard sale and someone had a box of free tapes, and there was the Star Wars Special Editions in a box set, and I was like, oh, cool, and I guess I'm gonna see these. So, I put in New Hope. There's some stuff in there that definitely didn't work. Like, I don't like all the CGI creatures they added to the background of Mos Eisley, especially the big dinosaur butt that takes up the screen in one scene. Yeah, that was freaking necessary, wasn't it? And then the scene where Han and Greedo are having their thing. This one's been talked about a lot, and I remember people always saying about, what do they call it? Han shoots first. Well, in the original movie, nobody shoots first. It's only Han who shoots. Greedo never gets a chance to shoot. I always thought that was kind of a weird, like, way to call it. So anyway, the weirdest thing about that, though, is like Han Solo's head kind of like glitching out of existence and kind of stretching out in a really awkward way. It doesn't look good. There was an animated video I saw somewhere where they made fun of it, where like he shoots Greedo and then his head, like his neck grows like a Rokubi Japanese yokai thing, and his head just goes zipping all over the place on a crazy long neck. The other stuff in A New Hope is okay. The stuff with Biggs and Luke at the end is the one that most people point to as being like a strong moment for the special editions, and yeah, it's a good scene. You could definitely cut it, and nothing's altered. It just gives a little bit more weight to Biggs's death later. It's a nice little scene, though. I like it. It kind of expands on Luke, that shows that, like, he's not just, the protagonist. He's also, like, an actual person. He had a life before this movie started. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and the other thing was Jabba the Hutt, which I do kind of like and don't like. I wonder why they've never improved on the CGI with Jabba the Hutt. Or maybe they have by now, I don't know, but in there, he looks really awful. The CGI isn't very good. It works well enough. Like, if the scene had to be there, it'd be fine, but I really think they could have done better. The whole reason it's CGI and not like a suit is because originally it was shot with like a guy, because they didn't know what Jabba was going to look like or something. So, it's an okay scene, but I understand why they cut it, and I do like the part where Han walks around Jabba, and they're like, oh, what do we do? Because Jabba's tail would be in his path, so he steps on Jabba's tail, and Jabba's like, Urk. That's kind of funny. I like that. It fits with Han's character. He would step on Jabba's tail. Why wouldn't he? Especially little tiny Jabba here. He's not the giant blob he would be in Return of the Jedi. I also like the scene when when Han leaves and says, "You're a wonderful human being," which I don't think initially was intended as a gag, but it does work. It's funny. Oh, and then that reminds me, the other scene that they kind of made funny is where Han's chasing down the couple of stormtroopers, then the door opens, there's a whole army of them. That's pretty funny. It's a thing that, like, the original scene, I think, was also intended as kind of humorous, but the joke doesn't really come across as well because he turns a corner and there's only like maybe 3 or 4 other stormtroopers. With this, there's a whole platoon of them, so the joke comes across a little better. I like that. With Empire, I didn't really care for the added stuff. Let's see, they did a few more stuff with the snow monster at the beginning. It's okay. Let's see. When they're in Cloud City, they removed a bunch of the walls and replaced it with like a CGI background. I get the idea. I understand what they were trying to do. I just don't think it looks good. I think the white walls looked better, just as a visual. Adding the CGI crap over the walls just makes it look too much like episode 2 or 3. And then Return of the Jedi was just garbage. I don't know what they were thinking with the special edition of that. That whole movie is just completely destroyed. I don't know like what they were thinking. It's awful. There is a few things that are nice. Let's see, the dancing girl that Jabba drops down into the Rancor pit, you get to see a little bit more of her. They actually brought back her actress for that scene, apparently. That's crazy. It's cool. She didn't age at all in the 10 years between the movies, so that's good. And I liked her. She's cool. It's too bad she gets eaten. And let's see. I don't like the CGI character added to the musical scene in Jabba's palace. I do like the new musical number. I just don't think it fits the movie. A lot of the CGI crap they added in Jabba's thing, I don't care for. Oh yeah, that was something. In the original New Hope, they put CGI over certain monsters. I don't understand why they did that, because it looks really bad. Like, the suits looked fine, the masks looked fine, the makeup looked fine. Then they put CGI crap all over it. It's gonna date the movie in a completely different way than the suits and masks and makeup. So anyway, in Return of the Jedi, they go to Endor, and if I remember right, there's not a whole lot altered on Endor until the end. In the original version, the Ewoks sing that song, Yub Nub, Echop, Yub Nub. In the new version, it's just music, fireworks, and different planets. And I guess in one of the versions, you can hear Jar Jar cheering in one of the crowds. Okay. So anyway, on the special editions, I think the stuff that they added in probably should have just stayed deleted scenes. So what to talk about next? Well, I guess I'll talk about Clone Wars next. So here's Clone Wars. I remember when this came out, I wasn't really big on it. I didn't care for the hyper-stylized designs that they were using. Like, I've never really been a big fan of that kind of style of cartoon, but it did grow on me, and eventually I got around to watching it. I really liked it. This is a really good cartoon. And then I found the second volume, which is really cool. Also, it leads right into episode 3, which is really cool. In fact, episode 3 feels like a stronger movie after having seen this. I'm wondering why Disney hasn't, like, put out, like, a special edition of Revenge of the Sith, and it, like, includes these. Like, they could have, like, all this edited together into, like, another DVD set or something. They could sell it alongside Revenge of the Sith. I think it works a lot better having seen this first. It helps set up a lot of things, and Revenge of the Sith they just have, and they expect you to know what it is. When I went to see Revenge of the Sith in the theaters, I hadn't seen the Clone Wars cartoon. So there's this big robot dude, Grievous, that they treat like the big bad, and I have no idea who he is. There's, let's see, Dooku's back, and then he's immediately killed off. It's like, what was the point? So anyway, the Clone War cartoon, the original one, led to the Clone Wars movie, which was kind of this weird in-between thing that didn't really tie in with the Clone War cartoon. It didn't really tie in with the movies. It was just its own thing. And the trailers completely ruined this and made me not want to see it. In fact, I still haven't seen the whole thing. And the box is broken. So anyway, what I have seen of this didn't impress me. I don't think the movie was very good. It'll be a while before I actually get around to watching the whole thing, probably. But, fortunately, the series is a lot better. I happened to come across this, like, box set of the first batch of seasons. How many seasons is this? It says 100... Oh, okay, seasons 1 through 5, right there under the logo there. I started watching this when I got yeah, when I got the DVD set, I was watching through the episodes for the first time, and I was really surprised. I really, really liked this. This is really good. There's a few clunker episodes, and oh, clunker. It's close to clanker, what they call the robots, because racism towards droids is a running thing for some reason. Weird. Anyway, um, I really like the focus on like military strategy in the early episodes, where a lot of it was like a war movie with the clones and the separatists going to battle, and then we got like personal stories with Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan. That was really cool and really helped expand on their characters a lot. Let's see. The packaging for this is really nice too. It's these like really big, thick cases with little like pages for the discs. One unfortunate thing with these type of sets and how cheap it was, I kind of figured that some of the discs might not work. And I was right. The Season 1, Disc 1, I put it in, started watching it, works fine. Last episode comes out, and it freezes. My Blu-ray player starts making a weird noise. And eventually I get it to spit the disc out. I put the next one in, works fine. Every other disc works fine except for disc 1. So I've got to find a Season 1 DVD set of Clone Wars if I ever want to see episode whatever that was. Not that I was particularly interested, it's one episode and it wasn't even a very good one anyway, so whatever. Most of Clone Wars was really good, and then, let's see, there was this one, The Lost Missions, which is actually Season 6. So why don't they just call it Season 6? Who knows, whatever. It was good. Continuation. I don't know why it wasn't included in the box set. Like maybe it wasn't out yet or something? 2013, 2014. Okay. I don't know what the reasoning was there. Then there was the final season, which was missing a disc, kind of. What happened here was the first disc wasn't the right first disc. What it was disc 3. Again. So, the final season, Season 7 or whatever, I've never seen all of the first disc. So, yeah, I put in disc 3 and started watching it, and I'm like, oh, a lot of things developed that I wasn't aware of. And then I put in what I thought, like, and then it comes to the end, and I was like, huh, so it all ends. It was cool, but what's on disc 2? So I put disc 2 in, it's back to normal stuff, what? And then I realized, oh, what I thought was disc 1 is actually disc 3. I'm an idiot. So anyway, what's on the first disc was what introduced the Bad Batch characters. Their show was pretty good. I liked it. I didn't like the 2 episodes that switched to being about Rebels. And this is going on for a while, so I'll stop it here. Come back for part 2. See ya.